a messenger or apostle? Of God. So, it's pretty straightforward. That's the Shahada, but it has to be said properly with the proper intent and the proper state of purification. And theoretically, as I said, if you said that, you have converted to Islam. No one thinks I've converted, even though I've said it around 50 or 60 times. And I'm sure no Muslim in the room except thinks I converted, so their opinion is the correct one. The proper intent wasn't there, and that's the only thing that is lacking in saying it. So be careful when you say that, because if you have the intent, then a Muslim can think you're a Muslim. If you want to be a Muslim. Now, Salat is prayer. That too presupposes proper state of purification. And in prayer, there's a whole, particularly this is Sunnis now we're talking about, there's a whole regime associated with it. And this regime has to do with rakas. A raka is an actual prayer process you go through within the prayer ritual formula. So for instance, there are, as we saw in the Surah Al-Cow, supposed to be 5 prayers a day, and originally it was 3 towards Jerusalem, and then it changed to it, as you remember, the prayer direction. What was that called? I gave it to his vocabulary. The prayer direction, what was it called? Qibla, the Qibla. Was one dearer to your hearts, as he put it in chapter 2, was towards Mecca from that point on, and it was 5. So now these are, God, I'm not sure I get it right. You'll have to correct me if I got it wrong, because my brain is beginning to go to sleep these days. But one is in the pre-dawn, one is morning, one is noon, one is afternoon, and one is evening. Is that right?
One is like
pre-dawn.
Pre-dawn.
Yeah. One is morning.
One is noon. Pre-dawn is like before the sun.
Yeah, right.
Before the sun, then it's afternoon.
No, before.
Then it's noon, then afternoon, then evening, and then night.
Oh, I got an extra one in the morning, so they're all more. They cluster more towards the evening. And these are not specific times necessarily, except they have to be, before the sun comes up and so on and so forth. Actually, if you do these prayers in the way you're supposed to do them, you don't need to go to a health club. You don't need to go to the fitness gym, because they'll keep you pretty fit. Because you have to. How many rakas in the pre-dawn one? Do you know?
4.
4 in the pre-dawn.
And 12 in the noon.
It's how many?
12.
No, not 12 rakas.
12 rakas.
No, well then you're a different group, because it's usually 5, 2, 2, 4, and 5, something like that. It's never 12.
We do it as 4, 4, 2, or there's in evening there's 3.
Yeah, 4, 4, 2, 3, and then the night is what?
Night is 4, 4, 2, 2, 3, 2.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the numbers always puzzle me. But if you read Gibb, he'll give you what the numbers are. I'll show you now the different schools of Islamic law differ from each other just on a slight differences with how the raka should be performed, but they're more or less the same. And when we had time in this class, I'm a little bit in a hurry, I used to have some of my Muslims who were feeling brave come up here and perform a raka for you to show you how it was done. If there's any volunteer next time, we'll let you do that. Any Muslim in the room wants to do a raka to show the students how this is performed, we'd be happy to have you do that. And in any case, basically what do? You sort of bow, and then you go lower, and then down on your
knees on forehead.
On the floor with your forehead, and you say something, and then you come back up, and then you do it again, right?
The whole time you're just reading the Quran.
Yeah, but there's passages that
yes.
there's passages that you're doing, and But that's a whole ritual formula. That's called one of those. When you do the whole thing down and back up again is one rakah. Then you got to go through it all again, depending on the number prescribed at that given time of the day. And those are the five prayers. I said, Gib describes them quite well. Ramadan, we basically discussed. It's the fast month when the Quran, the night of power, was commemorated, the revelation of the Quran, and it's the holy month, the 8th month, and you fast in the day, and I don't know if you feast at night, but you relieve the fast. Some people probably are pretty hungry, so they do a bit of feasting at night. But life stops to a certain extent in most Muslim countries in Ramadan, because if you don't drink, and you're not supposed to drink in Ramadan either in the day, particularly if it's the summertime, you know it's a pretty tough regime to follow. 30 days of this is really tough, and you know, people start flagging, and certainly in physical labor jobs and things. There was an interesting problem that happened for Islamic law. What happens when a Muslim ambassador goes to Norway or Sweden during Midsummer's Night, when it's in the when there is no darkness? So when do they stop fasting? And that was interesting. I don't know how it was solved, but basically I'm sure they found a solution to it. But it became somewhat of an issue when Muslims discovered that there were midsummer nights in the northern regions, and if Ramadan came at that time of the year. Hajj, well, we'll do another time. Zakat is charity, poor due. And it was assessed. The different schools, what are you, Hanafi? What's your school of Sunnism? What school? I mean, each one follows a school. You can be Hanafi, you can be Hanbali, you can be, you know, Maliki, you can be Shafi. Where do you come from?
Never heard of those.
Are you kidding? Where do you come from?
There are like.
Well, where do you come from? What country?
I'm from Pakistan.
That's Hanafi. So you haven't heard of it because you are Hanafi.
Because I'm from a village, so it's just like.
Yeah, well, but because they don't know the other schools, they only know their own, so they don't realize that there's 3 other schools. Everyone in North Africa are Malikis. Everybody down in Arabia are Hanbalis, and everybody in Egypt and places like that, Indonesia, are Shafis. So you know, I'm going to tell you about Islamic law. So you see, I hate to be cruel, but you see, we in the West do know something about Islam, and sometimes we know more than the practitioners, because the practitioners only know what they've learned in their village sometimes. And he doesn't realize that he's a Hanafi, but I'll put my right hand on the line if he's not a Hanafi. That's the school of law that interprets it a certain way and gives you the precepts of how you're supposed to do things. And this is where Sharia is built up. Now quickly, before you go, I'll just tell you how Sharia is built up. And then next time we'll pick up. This is called the Usul al-Fiqh. Usul al-Fiqh. The roots of the fiqh. And the fiqh in Arabic is the science of Islamic law, what we call in the West jurisprudence. The theory of law, jurisprudence we call in the West. In Arabic, that's the fiqh. Now the roots of the fiqh, depending on which school, and that's where the schools come in, the roots of the fiqh are, I'll just give you this and I'll let you go, hold on. The roots of the fiqh are Quran, that's one. Everything is well organized in Islam, it's very good. Sunnah, Ijma, this is Sunni Islam now, as you see, but Sunnah is 2, and Qiyas. This is one. These are the sources of Islamic law. The Quran, the Sunnah of the Prophet, I'll tell you about next time. Ijma, consensus, we had it in the choice of the Aqidah. And finally, Qiyas, analogy, what we would call precedent in Western law. See you next time. We'll get you a little bit of a course in Islamic law now.